Hi ladies and gentlemen, Josh Rorty here.
Jeremy Rorty.
This video we're going to be diving a little bit more into the topic of self-defense. If you haven't already seen the first video we put out, the introduction to self-defense, I'm going to put a little card right up there so you can go and check it out. It dives a little bit more into the concept of what self-defense is, defines it for you legally, and gives you a philosophical way to look at it. Today we're going to be talking more about how to create a plan to help you out in a self-defense situation.
We're going to be talking about the ABCs of self-defense. That's how we put it together. Makes it easy to remember. That's what you want in self-defense. Techniques that are going to be reliable and easy to use. So ABCs being awareness, breathing, and companion.
Remember, self-defense isn't about fighting. It's about how to avoid the fight or escape the fight if it comes on. So that brings us to the very first of the ABCs, awareness. Part of awareness is certainly being aware of your surroundings, but it's also being aware that you're in danger, and also being aware of the plan to get you out of that emergency.
That one of the schools that we teach at, every few weeks they're going through not only fire but also earthquake drills. When was the last time you've done that with your family in your house? Do you know what to do if a fire breaks out in your kitchen and you can't get it under control? How do you get you and all your loved ones out?
Have you even thought about a plan for that?
Or an earthquake. You know, we're in southern Oregon. We don't have to worry about earthquakes as much as California, but they are possible here. You know, it's not something that's in the forefront of our minds, but what if it's happened and you didn't have a plan?
So coming up with a plan ahead of time is best, but sometimes you have to come up with a plan on the spot. So there's a pretty easy method that you can use to come up with that plan. I look at it as 3 zones of assessment. Zone 1 is myself. What do I have on me? Number 1 thing I have on me, even when I'm in the shower, is my skills and my knowledge. I mean, some guy breaks in my house and attacks me in the shower. I'm a black belt in many martial arts. I don't need any other tools outside of my bare hands and feet.
Maybe the shower curtain.
Maybe the shower curtain too. But, you know, outside of that, for instance, if you're in a fire in your house, being aware of what room am I in? Am I in the bathroom right now and there's this fire and I don't have a window escape out of, or am I in my bedroom? So I'm thinking about, what do I have on me in my bedroom? I'm in my pajamas. Do I have my cell phone on me? Do I need to grab that real quick so I can call 911? So these kinds of assessment, what do I have on me, you can make in a split second. I'm sure even in this time that I've talked about it, you've even thought yourself about, oh, what do I have on me? Do I have my wallet? Do I have my keys? Outside of being aware of what's on you, you also want to be aware of what's around you. Oh, I'm in my bedroom. My wife's next to me. My window's over here. Do I know how to get out my window? I'm feeling my doors, the door hot. That's a quick zone of assessment of what's around me.
The zone 3 would be more the area that you're in. Once I step out of my house, what's my neighborhood like? Where's the nearest help from there? If I need to get to a hospital, if I need to get to a police officer, or if I just need to get to another family member's house, what's the best routes that I can take?
If I'm escaping into my backyard, do I have a fence that I'm going to have to contend with? Looking at that all together for a fire escape plan, you want to make sure you're talking about your family ahead of time. So you're thinking about each individual room. You take your family from the living room to each of their bedrooms. Here's how you would escape from these rooms. Once you escape, here's where you're going to go. Here's what you're going to do. Are you going to be the one that's calling 911, or am I going to be the one calling 911 and you're getting the kids out of the house? What's the plan?
Making sure that everybody knows that of alternate routes. If we can't get out this way, if I can't get to you, what is your other way out of the house?
And it can't just be you and your spouse that are in on the plan. You got to get your kids on it too. Now, depending on how young the kids are, you don't want to scare them, so maybe you make a little game out of it. You get them into the living room and say, okay, how do I get you out of the living room? I'm a monster, rawr! And you know, you make it a fun game, and then all of a sudden an emergency comes up. They're going to remember those steps that they took. Let's apply that same process to a plan that you're coming up with on the spot, as opposed to a plan you're coming up with ahead of time. You're going into a restaurant. So as soon as you step into the restaurant, you want to do a quick zone of assessment. What do I have on me? Did I leave my wallet in the car? Is he going to have to pay for my meal this time?
He's washing dishes.
Your zone of assessment of what's around you. Where's the bathroom at? That's a very important thing to know when you're going to the restaurant, right? Or you're going to do a grocery store. Where's the bathroom? Also, where are the other exits? I know there's one behind me, the one I came in from, but in this restaurant, there might be 2 or 3 other escape exits, fire escapes. There might even be one back in the kitchen, but you wouldn't necessarily know about that unless you worked there. But if you're aware of those other exits and emergency breaks out, all of a sudden you've already come up with your plan. I'm sitting next to this exit, I saw it ahead of time. Maybe you're also doing a scan around the restaurant of who's around. Maybe you see a group of shady characters and the waitress is starting to lead you there, but you've already identified that. So you can tell the waitress, you know what, can I sit over here closer to the kitchen where I can see what the cooks are doing? She's going to sit you where you want to sit. She's not going to make you sit in a specific spot. Now all of a sudden, an emergency comes up. Somebody's coming in through the main entrance. You've got your family near you. You need to make sure they're aware of the plan. Hey guys, there's the exit for the fire escape right behind you. And then you have to be ready to go. Maybe you've talked about with your family ahead of time password for a go situation.
Basically, that danger happens, you're going to go into that zone 1. Where am I? Where are the people that I'm with? Zone 2, how do I get out of here? Zone 3, once I'm out of here, how do I get to my car into safety? You can be aware without being paranoid. Some people say, oh, I don't want to be walking around just being paranoid all the time. Well, you can turn it into a game. Like when we were kids, we used to play Slug Bug. You play that nowadays, you know, people don't like violence. That could be child abuse. You could even do something like the license plate game.
Every time you see somebody who's got a license plate from that state, you name that state, woo, I got a point. There's even those pictures that are drawn out, and you can see a couple having a picnic next to a lake, and there's a squirrel hiding up in a tree, and a dog peeing on a bush, and there's a list off to the side. Find the bone, find the soda cup, find the sailboat. You got to find all these things in the picture. This is your eyes being trained to pick up details. Details you might need in an emergency situation, like the color of the person's car, the state that the license plate was from, and maybe the first 3 letters of that license plate. One of the keys to awareness is not being distracted by your electronics. How are you going to hear the guy sneaking up on you when you're jogging out in the park when you have Metallica blasting in your earbuds? Maybe you just have one earbud out so you can hear music in one and hear your surroundings in the other.
You can find all kinds of YouTube videos of people with their faces in their phones walking into poles.
Especially keeping in mind that some people might be trying to attack you to steal your cell phone. And if you're conveniently holding it out there for them to grab and you're not even paying attention to them, but you're paying attention to this, they're going to have them be gone before you even realize it.
There's always some kind of indicator that danger is about to happen. For example, in a fire, you're going to smell the smoke probably first of all. You might feel heat on a door.
Hear the fire alarm.
Yeah, exactly, fire alarm. When there's an earthquake, you're going to notice things shaking that don't normally shake.
In the case of humans, it can be a little bit tougher. I mean, yeah, the guy's looking at you funny. He's giving you what I like to call the stink eye. But what, are you going to punch the guy just because he's looking at you? Remember, when the cop shows up after the situation, you've just assaulted this guy. You need to be able to describe to the cop what it was that brought you to the point of punching the guy in the first place. So a couple of common indicators. The stink eye is the number one thing. When he looks at you, those eyebrows are furled up. You can tell when he means you ill intent. But on top of that, he's walking at you, pumping his fists. Oh, that's a sign that he's got adrenaline pumping through him. You try asking him a couple of mind-engaging questions. Hey, buddy, do I know you? Or, hey, how can I help you? And he wasn't responding to your questions, and he keeps getting closer. You're telling him to stay back, and then you finally decided to throw the punch. You were aware of all of those threat indicators as they were happening. That way, when the point came up, you were ready to put your plan into play. Am I going to run away from this guy? Or my kid's right here, and I'm going to have to stand my ground so I don't leave them behind? Then when the cop shows up, because you're aware of it, you can go back and list it and create this case of self-defense, not assault.
Now we're going to get more into attack indicators later on, but right now we want to get more into the B of the ABCs, which is breathing. Really important because in any type of an emergency, you're going to have this tendency to go into a panic mode. Now I remember as a kid being told when you're angry, count to 10. The validity of that is you're taking your mind off of what you're angry at and you're thinking about counting to 10. So it's the same thing here. Danger's coming upon you. First thing you need to do, besides being aware of that, is make sure that you're in control of yourself. Take some deep breaths, and then think about what your plan is going to be.
A little bit of anatomy and physiology for you here. When you get stressed out, adrenaline dumps into your system. It makes your heart rates really fast. Your blood pressure goes up, so your muscles feel weak, even though they just got really, really strong right now. And it makes it really hard to think clearly, even though you might have thought about this plan ahead of time of what you would do in this scenario. The key is, like he said, the breathing. And not just little shallow breaths, but deep breaths where it actually stretches your lungs. When your lungs get stretched, it releases a hormone in your body that counteracts adrenaline. It's the one that's commonly referred to as the runner's high. That runner's high will still keep your heart rate up. It'll still keep your body ready to go and fight. But what it will also do is release that calming chemical that will bring you from your lizard brain into your civilized brain. So now you can start making decisions the right way. Now from there, how many breaths do you take? I remember an episode of MASH. I think it was Hawkeye Pierce was talking about a situation. He was in a hut and they were getting shelled at the time. They had patients in there. And the nurse that was helping him was asking him about, aren't you frightened right now? Aren't you ever scared? And Hawkeye pointed out that yes, he was scared. That every single time he gets in the situation to cut somebody open, he's scared. But he mentioned that he entertains that fear for a few seconds while he takes a couple of deep breaths, and then that's the only attention he pays for that fear, and he does what he has to do.
More important than the number of breaths to me is how you're breathing. Taking deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth is going to help create that calming effect that you're looking for.
It might happen in 3 breaths, it might happen in 5 breaths, but either way, even if it takes 10 breaths, you want to get your brain active again, because if you are acting out of emotion, you could do the wrong thing.
The last thing we'll talk about is C, which is companion. And there's a couple ways we can look at companion. Number 1 is who is with me that might also be in danger. My wife, my kids, my friend, are they aware of the danger? Do they know what to do to get out of that danger? The other part of companion would be, is there somebody with me or somebody that I need to contact that's going to be able to help me get out of danger? Or just that I need to contact to let them know, hey, I am currently in danger.
And that could be as simple as you're walking down the street. Your awareness has been piqued. You think this guy's following you. So you cross the street and you pull out your cell phone and you make a phone call. Hey, Jeremy, I'm down here on 5th Street. I'm walking up towards Walmart, and now the guy hears you talking to somebody else and can instantly know that you're in trouble. That's a companion, even though they're not there with you. Maybe your companion is you like to go out jogging, so you bring a dog with you. Well, you know what? If it's a real serious situation, the dog might get hurt or injured by attacking the other person, but at least you can get away. The other part of companion could just be letting people know where you're going. Numerous hikers have been lost and died out in the woods because they went on a hike on their own, didn't tell anybody they were going anywhere. It could be as simple as letting your roommates know, hey, I'm going to go down to this club. I'm going to be doing some dancing. I should be back by 11 o'clock tonight. If you've made that pre-arrangement, now you've got a companion who's going to call the police if 1 in the morning is rolling around and you're still not home.
The last part about having a companion is if you have a companion with you that you've gone out with, stay with that companion. Don't split. A lot of times you hear stories about two or more people going out and hanging out together, and then one person decides, I'm going to leave the group, and they go off with somebody maybe that they just met, and then that person's never heard from again.
Now that you know about the awareness, the breathing, and the companion, and you know about the tool of your 3 zones of assessment, what's on you, what's around you, and what's surrounding you, hopefully you feel like you can put together a plan for any emergency situation that you might run into. Again, going back to the beginning of this video, it's best to think about what scenarios you might come across, apply it to this plan-making process, and then get your kids, your wife, your friends, your roommates, everybody else in on the plan too, so that you're not the only one.
And I think that's the important thing too, is you get your family involved in it, your friends involved in it, you all come up with different ideas on different scenarios and how to deal with different things, and then at least everybody has thought through all of that, and then there's not that tendency to want to panic when that danger happens.
I even remember some of my favorite martial art classes with Mike McDonald, where when one of the other people in class would bring out, well, hey, what if I'm out on the street and I run into this problem? And we'd all together sit around and talk about how would we deal with that situation? What techniques would you do?
What if the situation went that way? Or what if the situation went this way?
It can be a very fun topic of conversation that actually even gets you to know the person pretty well and how they think.